Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is restore. Restore. Kind of like that little leaf there, little plant and coming out of a dead stump. It may seem like all hope is lost, but there will be a restoration. And that's the message that God has for Israel and for Judah here in Zechariah chapter 10. And as he's talking about that day that's coming, he says, when basically this whole chapter he's talking about the restoration that will happen. But it's something that he says here in this part of the verses why I picked this out today. So verses 6 through 8 of Zechariah chapter 10, I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph. I will bring them back because I have mercy on them. They shall be as though I had not cast them aside. For I am the Lord their God, and I will hear them. Those of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, and their hearts shall rejoice as if with wine. Yes, their children shall see it and be glad. Their hearts shall rejoice in the Lord. I will whistle for them and gather them, for I will redeem them, and they shall increase as they once increased. Now I can't help but kind of smile when he says, "I'll whistle for them and they'll come." I mean, you think about it, somebody whistles and then all of a sudden he's saying, "Hey, let's come all together." That's what the Lord is going to do. And just to think about as he's saying, they will be as they once were. Even though I had at one time had to turn my back on them because every time they got into sin, man, we've seen this up and down, back and forth, and idolatry over and over again. And then, still looking ahead to that day, he says, when all the sin is going to be done away with, when all things are going to be made right, he says, I'm going to gather them together. It's going to be like never before. It's going to be a time of rejoicing. Right? We talked about the reversal there at the beginning of the week, the rejoicing yesterday, and then today the restoration, that restoring to see that he's going to make all things new. But why does God do that? Have you ever just stopped to think, why does God have to restore everything? Why does there need to be, in the end, why does it need to be a new heaven and a new earth? Why did there need to be Jesus? Why did there need to be salvation? Why did there need to be a way? See, the whole reason is we say, well, it needed to so we could be saved. Why? We are sinners. We deserve hell, plain and simple. He said it there. Did you catch it? He says, because I will have mercy on you. He will restore all things, and he is making all things new for the same reason that he sent Jesus in the first place. Because he had mercy and he had compassion. I can't help but think of in Matthew chapter 9, and it's a verse that really is kind of the theme verse for the church. Here is that as Christ looked out, and he looked out and he saw the multitudes, and he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. He had compassion on them, and I love the definition of compassion I ran across years ago, and it was defined this way: love that gets involved. Love that gets involved. That's what compassion is. Right? It's one thing to love, but then when love gets involved, it's taking it to that next step into compassion. And that the reason, as he says here, the reason that he's going to restore, the reason that he's going to bring back Israel and Judah and all the tribes to be restored as it was going to be originally, the reason he's doing it is because he is a merciful God, because he has compassion. Now, I told you, we've got lots of reasons to rejoice and to be excited. And as we look ahead, and even now, we see things that seem to be falling apart, and we're falling apart, and the world seems to be falling apart. And it's hard to believe that there are people that believe that this is heaven. That people would even believe that for a minute, as much sin and evil it is in the world, and as much as things are decaying and falling apart and getting worse and worse, as Scripture tells us is going to, before it gets better. But oh, there's coming a day when he is going to completely restore all things. And it's not because we deserve it. It's not because we earned it. It's not because we're owed it. In our culture today that says, hey, I deserve all these things, no. The reason that God would restore all things, and the reason that he sent Jesus, and the reason that we even have a chance, and the reason that we're even having this conversation right now, is because we serve a compassionate and a merciful God, a loving God. Yes, he is a just God, but in his mercy and his compassion, he decided to pour out his justice and his wrath on Christ instead of on us. That's why we can look ahead to a day of complete restoration, when then we will know as we have been known. We will see now dimly, but then face to face. Oh, what a day of not just rejoicing that will be, but oh, what a day of restoration that will be as well. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.